my understanding is now that when systems are attacked, they're attacked through multiple systems, right? There's a login things that happen as part of the login. There's things that happen on the endpoint. There's things that happen through email. All the different areas the attacker will go and do stuff in, and as part of their ultimate goal of monetizing their attack one way or another. And to secure those things typically was done with separate systems, as you said, separate best-in-breed systems. And they would all look at their area of expertise. One is looking at the mail server, and one is looking at logins, and one is looking at the endpoint, and one is looking at your apps. And they wouldn't be able to pick up on patterns necessarily that one attacker would go and touch multiple of those systems. So the fact that Microsoft now is all of those systems. They are our mail server, and they are our endpoint operating system, and we're using Defender on the endpoint as well, and we are using the Office apps, and we're using the Edge as a browser and such. They're able to. They've done I think an evolutionary job of getting all of those systems to talk to one core Defender. I'm not sure, is it FDR or something like that, where if you set up all those things, then it can interpret all of the signals of what's going on in all those areas, and it can pick up patterns of an attacker moving through those spaces that I think would be very difficult for other systems to pick up. Certainly there are other systems that interoperate with each other and communicate with each other, but they're relying on other companies' APIs and such, whereas having, as you said, Microsoft end-to-end, one would hope that they'll be able to talk to each other a lot better and reliably pick up those signals and make it a lot harder for bad actors to move around inside the environment without getting noticed and intercepted and hopefully automatically stopped. And also, I think, circling back to the value that Ravanty provides is it's one thing to have all those features in the Microsoft stack with the E5 license and their investment in ongoing improvements. But that means it's a complicated space. I've been working in Microsoft 365 for years and years now, and I was when I started looking into it a little bit, I found it somewhat overwhelming. All the different areas, like you have to turn those things on. Even though you have a Microsoft mail server, a Microsoft endpoint, and Microsoft applications and Microsoft identity, they don't necessarily all by default talk to Defender and start throwing up those alerts. And you have to go and know that all those things need to be turned on. You need to turn them on the right way, and there's a chunk of configuration and policies that need to be put in place and best practices, and they are changing over time. As the threat world evolves. So having a company like Ravanty that can come in and is knowledgeable about all those things, and we can confidently know that they're setting us up in a secure manner and using best practices and possibly helping us out over time, I think is a great investment. We had noticed that in conditional access policies, you can either have them off, on, or in report-only mode. That was very easy for us to find out on our own. What was more of a challenge was trying to find out, okay, where's the report? It's in report-only mode. I know it's not impacting end users, but I want to know what it would have done. That's the whole point. Where do I find that? And from Microsoft documentation, we could find the only thing I was able to find was on a per sign-in log basis. So one event, you could go and see, well, what would the policy have done on this event? So going through every sign-in for that day from every user and see, would it have done something manually one event at a time was absolutely prohibitive. There's no way we're doing that. So Ravanty was able to very quickly show us there were some changes, something that they added into our Microsoft 365 Entra, and it added a workbook, a section we never even looked at in Entra before. And that workbook allowed us to view summary reporting of the report-only policies. And we could see successes and failures, and you could drill down on just show me all the failures. And it breaks it down by user. Here are the users and how many failure each user had, and even the applications that they were using. So that was extremely useful in tweaking and evaluating the policies whether we should turn them on or not, or what things we could do to change it and fix it before we turn it on to minimize the impact on our legitimate users and our business processes. It was a very good experience working with Ravanty on this. In addition to this technical expertise, which was excellent. Um, I mean, the engineer, Yesai, he actually created a lab on his own side that emulated our environment. And when we were working through things, he was, as things came up, bumps along the way, or things that weren't working exactly like we wanted to, or things we needed to dig into a little bit more, he was very willing, enthusiastically willing to spend the time and dig down into those details and make sure it was right for us. And even offline, outside of our calls, he would go back to his lab and he would do testing on his own, and then be able to come back and say, yes, this works, or no, this doesn't. This is what we need to do to fix it, sort of thing, which was, I think, very tremendous. And also the finishing document, the summary document he provided at the end for us to use as a reference on an ongoing basis was very well done. Broke down all the different sections of where we did work and changes that were made, and then recommendations as to how to monitor it going forward, or next steps that we may want to take that are outside of the original scope. It was very nicely broken down section by section in a very easy to understand way.